Now, when he was making that point, well, something just sprang to mind. In our country, I mean, you declare your assets at a particular point, and then the higher you go, maybe you acquire more assets. But then, as far as Code of Conduct Bureau is concerned, you never really know where you are stepping, you're overstepping the bounds of the law. Now, how does holding a public office preclude acquisition of new assets, particularly when one's status rises? I'm putting the question to Dr. Nweze.
Now, the Code of Conduct Bureau has a very important role to play to educate people continuously so that they don't forget. Now, if I expect that when I get into office, for instance, from the income maybe I'm paid, I may do two things: use it to invest somewhere, or buy a property, or give to my family. Do this, they can invest and stuff like that. Okay, I don't think that the law is against, but they should be. Probably they are not doing like Mustapha Buba said, that capacity. Human capacity. It's like the people working there, they don't have enough capacity to run this thing. And we need to look at restructuring. That's the point I always make. Strengthening the institutions if we need to fight corruption. Institutions like Code of Conduct need to be strengthened as well. Other institutions need to be strengthened. It's a typical case of weak institutions that we have. And that is one of the things that the major cause of these things. Any other thing we are doing is symptom. The main cause that we need to be dealing with is how do we strengthen all these institutions so that they will have capacity. We had that in the past, even in central bank in the past, until subsequent governors came to strengthen, bringing the right people, making the systems work, checking all the processes, deploying technology to strengthen these institutions. And I think that this is what we need to do so they can track these people, okay? So that whenever they acquire something, they can even quickly, or occasionally, maybe send mails to all these public office holders. Please, I know that if you have, in my school I went to, usually they send me email if I have changed my address to update. They could be sending all that to public office holders so that they'll be constantly informed or be made aware of all these responsibilities. The case of Saraki and all that, if I would have forgotten. I know that the man would have forgotten all this until he'd be surprised that this thing came up. He had other national issues to think about. So it's possible that he might have forgotten. So I feel that the Code of Conduct should be strengthened to do their work. I hold them responsible for that.
Okay, let me ask Mr. Oshoma. Alhaji Buba talked about the handicaps, the Code of Conduct Bureau has to contend with. Doesn't that raise a question about probity when it comes to bringing up charges against individuals if they don't have what it takes to do a thorough job?
Basically, it's not about doing a thorough job, so let's not mix up issues. It's about not being able to scrutinize everybody. I can
but
decide.
What's the guarantee that the scrutiny is done as
that is why when you get to the tribunal, you have opportunity to be heard also. You present your defense. Remember, there was a time former governor of Lagos State, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was dragged before the Code of Conduct Tribunal. And that matter lasted for almost a year. At the end of the day, the tribunal discharged and acquitted him. Because maybe somebody did not do his job properly. If you look at paragraph 11 of that fifth schedule, it says, subject to the provision of this constitution, every public officer shall within 3 months after coming into office, after coming into force of this Code of Conduct, or immediately after taking oath of office and thereafter, at the end of every 4 years, and at the end of his term in office, submit to the Code of Conduct a written declaration of all his properties, assets and liabilities, and those of his unmarried children under the age of 18. And so these public officers know for sure, most especially if you've been occupying office since 1999 or since 2003, you must be aware that Every 4 years, you are required to do this. If you have acquired other properties, when you are declaring subsequently, you will include them. And then also, it is the responsibility of the Code of Conduct to look at these properties that you've stated that you have acquired, whether your salaries that you have earned within this period will tally with these properties that you say you have acquired. Unless you, if they discover that, look, this is so too much, you now need to prove, establish before them that, look, I earned these properties or these assets genuinely. But as for capacity, like Alhaji Buba said, they are overwhelmed in most cases, because if you look at part 2 of the 5th schedule, almost everybody who draws salary from government will need to go through this. Go to High Court sometimes, you see, at the end of every 4 years, you see local government staffs, staff from the state government, all trooping to the High Court to declare their assets. And so, you now need staff at that local government and at the state also to carry out this verification. With the number of staff they have, it will be a practical impossibility to verify every asset declared. And that is why it usually would take time to verify some of these assets. And then also you find out that it's only public office holders that are being dragged before this tribunal. I would also agree that to a very large extent the tribunal had been lackadaisical, and then also coupled with the fact that when you have a government that's truly not ready in fighting corruption, it becomes the order of the day, and so everybody will sit down and, not take steps. But when you have one that is truly ready in fighting corruption, like we see all of a sudden, the same EFCC, nothing has changed, the same ICPC, the same Special Fraud Tribunal, all of them are all of a sudden inviting some of these people.
Now, Mr. Oshoma, you raised a matter here, and I'd like to even put the question across to Alhaji Buba. The question being, in the last 16 years or so, has any senior visible public official at the end of his term of office, or even within the 4-year stipulated time, gone to declare his assets at the Code of Conduct Bureau in the last 16 years?
At the point of exit.
Really, most of the public officers, most do declare at the point of exit. But the point is, my colleague over there said, you don't have the capacity, or the public themselves, they don't come to inquire. Mr. ANB has left office. Has he declared when he left office? Initially, people don't come because the provision of the Constitution said you will not have access to the information contained in the form until the National Assembly enact a law stating terms and conditions under which you will access this information. But with the passage of the Freedom of Information Act, which is also an act of National Assembly, you can apply, because under the Freedom of Information Act, the terms to access all information, government information, has been clearly stated. So there is no, it's now left for the public to always go, okay, Mr. A and B has left office. When he was there, what did he declare? When he exited, what did he declare? That way, we will do that.
Yes, of course, the explanation is pretty clear enough. But then the question on the minds of many Nigerians at this point is that this very issue of public declaration, especially as concerns the Senate President, why is it coming up at this point where he appears to be having problems with his political party, the APC?
Well, as I have said earlier, except when we accept that whether there is any political motive or there is no political motive, once you are accused of something, people should be honorable enough, particularly at that high level, to go to the court and clear their names. It is not enough because you read political motive into any, accusation, then you made it a political issue. They have done all their political issues during campaign. Irrespective of the circumstances of his emergence as the president of the Senate, he is bound by the laws of this country. And he is the Senate president, chairman of the National Assembly. Therefore, he should be even the most first person under these circumstances to go, to say, well, I'm the chairman of the legislature, so I'm here. All these charges are wrong. But for him to say political, I mean, people should please learn to do away with this kind of sentiments. Otherwise, we will not go anywhere.
Well, the question is, the Code of Conduct Bureau had enough capacity to go back as far as 2003 to, get stuff on the Senate President, specifically when, there are several other public servants to deal with, and there is no capacity. But then, as far as the issue of capacity where the Senate President is concerned, the CCB has gone as far back as 2003 to dig up stuff on him.
Well, as at that time, I think I left office. I left office about getting to 6 years, so I wouldn't know. But even during our time, we did. Some people left their office after 4 or 5 years. We still dig up, like the case of Tinubu they are talking about. I was there. It was during our time that we took him when Kalu Agabi was the Federal Attorney General. We started prosecuting that case. Immediately he left office. But because of legal fireworks, the thing was kept to one side. I remember we have taken General Jeremiah Husseini. Eventually it was adjoined, Sinedai. There are so many of them cases which I very much remember that has been taken. But along the line, nothing happened, and I cannot account for that. But the point is, truly, we will have to learn, even if there is a political motive or no political motive. Once you are accused as a citizen of this country, go to that place where they are accused, prove them wrong. That is the right thing to do.
Thank you very much, Alhaji Buba. Indeed, we will still come back to the issue of assets declaration and, of course, the role of the Code of Conduct Bureau. But for now, we take a moment, and when we return, it's Politics Today on Channels Television, the issue of asset declaration of public officials, and, of course, the role of the Code of Conduct Bureau, particularly when it comes to the matter of prosecution, in just a moment.